Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. I'm sure everyone has been following the recent Nexperia incident. A Dutch semiconductor company, wholly acquired by a Chinese company, was stripped of its decision-making power by the Netherlands under the so-called Supply of Goods Act, and was subsequently assigned foreign executives to manage the company's day-to-day affairs. This move has directly escalated the issue of free trade in the semiconductor industry. For a long time, Western countries, led by the United States, have been imposing trade controls on Chinese companies, particularly in the semiconductor sector. Chinese semiconductor companies, such as Huawei and SMIC, have been subject to Western restrictions on a number of occasions. Following this incident, a situation the United States could not have anticipated occurred. China's breakthrough was so rapid. It is understood that after the Dutch semiconductor incident, China implemented two countermeasures. One was comprehensive control of rare earths, adding semiconductor products, whose raw material value accounted for 0.1% of the total product price, to the control list. This move has directly led to ASML's concerns about future rare earth supply. While it won't directly impact ASML's lithography machine production in the short term, in the long term, ASML could face increased costs and component shortages as the impact trickles down the supply chain. However, rare earth regulation is only a broad policy change. The biggest impact on the Netherlands comes from domestic regulations targeting Nexperia China's export of products. This effectively cuts off Nexperia's supply channels, prompting immediate pressure from European automakers, who urged the Netherlands to quickly restore supply chain stability. The Netherlands has arguably made this incident a major issue. Without any need to impose regulations on Chinese companies, they proactively targeted them and sought actual control, setting a serious precedent in Europe. China's decisive countermeasures are largely due to the fact that breakthroughs in domestic semiconductor equipment have reached a critical mass. Even situations unforeseen by the United States are beginning to emerge. Not long ago, at a Shenzhen trade show, Xinkailai, a semiconductor company founded only 4 years ago, showcased over 10 types of semiconductor equipment, including etching and thin film deposition equipment. All core components are sourced from domestic suppliers, eliminating reliance on external suppliers and achieving true domestic substitution. Even more crucial is wafer inspection equipment. The domestic production rate for this equipment was previously pitifully low, with the majority of the market share held by companies like KLA Tenka in the United States. Now, China is not only capable of designing and manufacturing its own products, but can also deliver them to wafer fabs. Coupled with significant breakthroughs in EDA software, Chinese companies no longer need to rely on Western regulations for chip design tools. US EDA software regulations have become a joke. To avoid further impacts on US EDA companies, the US Department of Commerce recently quietly lifted export restrictions on US EDA companies. This demonstrates that unexpected developments in US chip regulations are already occurring. Another example is the 90 GHz ultra-high-speed oscilloscope, a product previously banned from export to China by Western countries. China is now capable of manufacturing its own products, and major domestic institutions like Huawei are using them. The US sanctions list has gradually become a research and development list for Chinese companies. The more products and technologies the US blocks, the faster Chinese companies will break free. It now appears that the Netherlands is being used as a pawn, unknowingly. Following the US's lead, they use so-called legal means to forcibly seize actual control of Chinese companies, only to discover that 70% of their production capacity relies on Chinese semiconductor companies for packaging. Now, European automakers themselves face a supply disruption crisis, but the solution lies in China. If rare earth supply issues arise, their own losses will likely continue to escalate. It's truly a case of picking up sesame seeds and losing watermelons. Now, even the sesame seeds must be duly returned, leaving the other side with virtually no benefits. As for critical semiconductor equipment like lithography machines, Chinese companies like Xinkailai have already begun deploying them, and I believe good news will be released soon. The Netherlands and the US originally believed that by maintaining pressure on China, they could gain more benefits from negotiations with it. But the result was that China's rare earth regulations and domestic substitution caught the other side off guard. As Jensen Huang said 2 days ago, Nvidia's share of the high-end AI chip market in China has dropped from 95% to 0%, essentially losing the Chinese market. No matter how advanced ASML's semiconductor equipment is, it's a man-made product, not something that humans can't understand or produce. As long as Chinese companies invest in R&D, technological breakthroughs are only a matter of time. The Nexperia incident, on the other hand, seems more like the Netherlands playing tricks on itself, attempting to blackmail Chinese companies in a related field. However, this time, the other side overlooked one thing: the global industrial chain is inherently interconnected. Attempting to decouple and disrupt the supply chain will ultimately backfire. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to leave a comment and discuss.